Hi folks, how you doing? This is Iqbal with NVIDIA Daily Analysis. So NVIDIA continued the positive momentum today as well as we expected in my yesterday video. It went up about 3.5% today. We'll further discuss NVIDIA stock price movement in this video and try to make an assessment for next few days using technical charts, fundamentals, and data analysis. Now, let's get started. Starting with the daily summary, NVIDIA opened at 120.92. It made a high 124.36. It made a low 120.34 and it closed at 122.80. That is 3.32% up. Based on my yesterday assessment, I had the opinion that most likely Nvidia should go up today as well. And this is exactly what happened because yesterday we had some positive news or data regarding Nvidia. And today I bought some of Nvidia stocks at 123, but I'm still holding some cash in case Nvidia went down to below 115 in next few days. Then I can buy more Nvidia stock. So also, as you noted, Nvidia is struggling to break 125 level. So it will be interesting to see if Nvidia can break 125 in next few days. And that's my litmus test as well, as I mentioned in my previous videos. But overall market was mixed today. Some stocks were up and some were down. Now let's take a look at forward P for Nvidia. You see Nvidia forward P at this point is at 39.87, slightly higher than the last week closing, but still around 40. So that's a very stable forward PE at this point. Palantir 115.41, much higher than the last week closing. SMCI 13.07 compared with the last week is almost flat. AMD 42.30, slightly lower than the last week closing. So out of these four stocks, Nvidia is still underpriced compared with AMD and Palantir and has more room to go further up. You can say SMCI also looks underpriced, but SMCI has other issues as well. For example, some counting irregularities and earnings miss and other issues that SMCI is still struggling. So until we see some of those issues are resolved or going in the right direction, SMCI would still be under pressure. That's what I think. Now let's take a look technical charts. You see 180-day hourly interval chart for Nvidia on your screen. You see that Nvidia tried to go further up today, probably about to touch 125 today, but it could not go any further than 124. So this tells that 125 is still a strong resistance level. So 125 level is still a litmus test for me. It tried to break 125 multiple times last week and before that as well, but it's still unbroken so far. As you can notice, Nvidia tried to break 125 and go further up multiple times last week as well, but still no success. In the lower side, you see 115 is a strong support level, and still Nvidia was not able to break 115 level as well. So Nvidia is moving between 125 and 115 since past few days, and this is also in line with my expectation that I shared with you sometime last week. So I had an opinion that Nvidia should be moving between 115 and 125 for next few days. Now let's take a look Bollinger Bands. You see that Nvidia stock is still above a 20-day moving average, and that tells that the momentum is still with Nvidia. I mean the upside momentum. And tomorrow will be interesting to see if Nvidia can go further up to touch 125 or go beyond 125. In my opinion, the chances are Nvidia might try to touch 125 level again tomorrow, because you see that Nvidia has still managed to remain above 20-day moving average since past few days. So that's a very good sign. Now let's take a look some news regarding Nvidia. So starting with this one that says Nvidia stock rises, its OpenAI news is driving shares. Let's take a look. It says that Nvidia stock picked up some gains on Thursday as investors digested the news that the chipmaker has invested in ChatGPT developer OpenAI. It further says the move came after OpenAI said it had raised $6.6 billion in new funding late Wednesday, bringing its total valuation to $157 billion. So that's a good thing for Nvidia. I'm not sure this news is big enough to take Nvidia further high because it already went up about 3 or 4% today. Now let's take a look. This one, this says Nvidia's stock rises again. This stat shows investors are not overly bullish. Let's try to open it. It says that Nvidia gets plenty of love in Wall Street, but one major big investors is still are not overly bullish on the semiconductor name. And this analysis came from Bank of America global research analyst Vivek Arya, and his team recently took his quarterly look at semiconductor stock ownership among five managers. It found that while Nvidia is the most owned semiconductor stock, it is still relatively underweight. It further says, given the attention around Nvidia lately, it may seem that the stock is highly popular among fund managers to the point where some would need to trim their exposure as the price goes up and create risk for the stock. So that's a very important finding. So it says that even if Nvidia is bullish but not overly aggressive at this point, and there are chances that if Nvidia goes up further, the big investors or managers would try to trim their position. So in their opinion, the current fundamentals and data does not suggest Nvidia to go too high. Now let's take a look this one. This says Nvidia shares are moving higher. What's happening? This looks to me kind of old news. This talks about Mr. Huang appeared in CNBC closing bell overtime on Wednesday and said Nvidia's Blackwell chips are in production and in high demand. Blackwell is in full production. Blackwell is as planned, and the demand for Blackwell is insane. So we already talked about Blackwell news and Mr. Huang comments yesterday. So it does not look like anything new for today. So this might have also caused Nvidia to go up as well today. Now let's take a look this one. One more perspective regarding Nvidia price movement for today. This says what's going on with Nvidia stock on Thursday. Let's open it. So this tells about the application of Nvidia's GPU in multiple sectors. I already went through this analysis. The only part to note here is this one that says the stock is trading upwards on Thursday after the US enacted reforms to boost the semiconductor sector. So, in their opinion, the reason for Nvidia to go up on Thursday was US reforms regarding the semiconductor. So, that could be one of the factors as well for today's Nvidia upside movement, besides other factors. Now, let's take a look this one, and this one is from the early morning. It says US stocks starting at another weak open as traders await key jobs report. Sentiment wavers as oil extends surge amid Middle East tension. So probably this news got published before the jobs report. Let's take a look at what happened with the jobs report today. So as you know, the weekly initial jobless claims data was due today. So the actuals came higher than the forecast, and that may not be a good sign for the job market. The last two cycle, the report came higher than the forecast, and those numbers look good. Possibly this is one of the reason S&P and Dow Jones was down today, but the tech sector overall did a better job today. And regarding the other economic data that's due tomorrow, we have US non-farm payroll, US unemployment rate and hourly wages. Let's take a look historical data and try to do some analysis. You see, this data is regarding US non-farm payrolls, and the US non-farm payroll is basically measures the change in the numbers of people employed during the previous month, excluding the farming industry. So that's a very important data. The last cycle it came 142K versus 164K, that came lower than the forecast. And each cycle is trending down. The forecast was 192K in June, then went up a little bit, 191K in July, then went down in August, the forecast, and again further down in September, and also October further going down. If the numbers go up each cycle, that would indirectly cause inflation to go further up because more people will get employed. That will add pressure on the inflation. So the forecast for this cycle is further down. So this means that if the actuals comes lower than the forecast or matches the forecast, and that would be a good sign for the inflation. We can expect the next inflation report, the inflation number would be going down. But if the actuals come higher than the forecast, that probably won't be a good news for the inflation. So during the rate cut cycle, we would expect non-farm payrolls gradually going down and also inflation gradually going down. Otherwise, a Fed would be under pressure to not do the rate cut as aggressive as the market thinks. Now let's take a look unemployment rate. So regarding the unemployment rate, you see the actual last cycle came exactly equal to the forecast, 4.2% versus 4.2%. In the last few cycles, you see that unemployment rate going up. It started in May 3.9% and gradually going up. So if the number goes up further each cycle, that's not a good news for the overall job market, and that would put market under pressure if that happens. So tomorrow, if the actuals come higher than the forecast, probably you will see market under pressure. I guess that's all about NVIDIA analysis and assessment for today and next few days. So today we saw that momentum is still there with NVIDIA, but overall news kind of mixed today. The most important part we saw in today's analysis and news is the research from the Bank of America that says NVIDIA is underweight, and the big investors and the manager is still reluctant to buy NVIDIA at a higher price. This means that NVIDIA is still might face a resistance in going further high, or most importantly above 125 level. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you more tomorrow. Take care.